chanting, "What is this life?" What is this life flowing through my veins? Can it be other than divine? What is this life flowing through my veins? Can it be other than divine? In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite Om. In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite Om. What is this energy flowing through my form? Can it be other than divine? What is this energy flowing through my form? Can it be other than divine? In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite Om. In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite Om. What is this consciousness flowing through my brain? Can it be other than divine? What is this consciousness flowing through my brain? Can it be other than divine? In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite Om. In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite Om. What is this power flowing through my will? Can it be other than divine? What is this power flowing through my will? Can it be other than divine? In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite Om. In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite Om. What is this life flowing through my veins? Can it be other than divine? What is this life flowing through my veins? Can it be other than divine? In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite Om. In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite Om. What is this energy flowing through my form? Can it be other than divine? What is this energy flowing through my form? Can it be other than divine? In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite Om. In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite Om. What is this consciousness flowing through my brain? Can it be other than divine? What is this consciousness flowing through my brain? Can it be other than divine? In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite Om. In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite Om. What is this power flowing through my will? Can it be other than divine? What is this power flowing through my will? Can it be other than divine? In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite Om. In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite Om. thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite home. In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one with the infinite home. Think ye in thy heart, lotus feet of thy Guru. Think ye in thy heart, lotus feet of thy Guru. If you want to cross the ocean of delusion, if you want to cross the ocean of delusion, shaming the white lotus in purity, shaming the white lotus in purity, beyond all duality, Guru, image of Brahma, deliver us from delusion. Guru, image of Brahma, deliver us from delusion. Think ye lotus feet of thy Guru. Think ye in thy heart, lotus feet of thy Guru. If you want to cross the ocean of delusion, if you want to cross the ocean of delusion, shaming the white lotus in purity, shaming the white lotus in purity, beyond all duality, Guru, image of Brahma, deliver us from delusion. Guru, image of Brahma, deliver us from delusion. Think ye in thy heart, lotus feet of thy Guru. Think ye in thy heart, lotus feet of thy Guru. If you want to cross the ocean of delusion, if you want to cross the ocean of delusion, shaming the white lotus in purity, shaming the white lotus in purity, beyond all duality, Guru, image of Brahma, deliver us from delusion. Guru, image of Brahma, deliver us from delusion. Think ye in thy heart, lotus feet of thy Guru. Think ye lotus feet of thy Guru. If you want to cross the ocean of delusion, if you want to cross the ocean of delusion, shaming the white lotus in purity, shaming the white lotus in purity, beyond all duality, Guru, image of Brahma, deliver us from delusion. 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 Think ye in thy heart, lotus feet of thy Guru. Think ye in thy heart, lotus feet of thy Guru. Let's meditate now just for a couple of minutes.
Welcome everyone to our class this morning, our final morning class of the Kriyaban Retreat. It's a joy to share this with you. Let's begin with a prayer. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, Friend, beloved God, Great Masters, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswar, beloved Guruji, Paramhansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, we bow to you all. Help us to take Kriya Yoga deeply into ourself, that we may awaken to our true self. As a child of God, one with Thee. Help us to be united in this practice, the sacred practice of Kriya, and in our discipleship. We long to know Thee. Bring us home. Om, peace. Amen. We'll have some music now.
Every morning when I greet the sun, when I move forth through crowded ways, in my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of Thee. In my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of Thee.
When I laugh, oh, and when I cry with pain, when my best friends misunderstand, in my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of Thee.
In my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of Thee. Dear
Well, welcome everyone. I'm Devi Leela, and I'm here with Nayaswami Maria, Nayaswami Ananda, and Nayaswami Jaya, and we'll be sharing today on the topic of living the light of Kriya Yoga in daily life. This has been the overarching theme of our weekend. The Kriyaban Retreat is living the light of Kriya Yoga, and I want to talk specifically about the living part of that, how to live Kriya Yoga outside of the practice of Kriya Yoga. They're both related. Our inner practice and our outer practice are interconnected. When Swami Kriyananda would teach Kriya, when he would talk about Kriya, he would often add to augment your Kriya practice with right living. And this is important because when we practice Kriya Yoga, we are cooperating with grace. We're drawing energy up through the spine to the higher centers, cooperating with the grace of the Guru. And in our outer life, when we are living in harmony with Dharma, with right action, we're also cooperating with grace, and the two work together. About a month ago, Erin gave a Sunday service on divine light, and in it she was talking about a man who was blind. He was blind from a childhood disease, or something had happened in his childhood. He became blind, and there's a book, and then there was light, and he tells about his story. He ended up leading the French resistance against Nazi Germany as a blind man. It's a remarkable story. What struck me, though, was this thing that happened with him is he discovered an inner light. He was, plunged into darkness outwardly in his physical eyes, but he discovered an inner light. And the thing specifically in relation to cooperating with grace is that he noticed when he was angry or judging or contractive in some way, that he would again be plunged into darkness, that inner light went away. And then when he reversed that and became open, that light returned, the inner light. And it's a tangible example of grace, how when we open ourselves by right action, by Dharma, by harmony with divine law, with God, we open ourselves to grace, to this upward flow. And when we're working both inwardly through our Kriya practice in this way and outwardly in the way that we're living, we're working on both sides. We're helping ourselves move forward more quickly, more dynamically. There's a term that most of us are familiar with, the straight and narrow, living by the straight and narrow. And it's, pardon me, it's a reference to right living, to Dharma, to moral living, to living by virtue. But it's also got a deeper mystical meaning, and Paramhansa Yogananda gave a commentary on where this comes from. The straight and narrow comes from the book of Matthew. It's enter ye the straight gate. Wide is the gate, broad is the way that leadeth to destruction. But straight is the gate, and narrow is the way that leadeth to life, and few there be that find it. And Master, when he talked about this, he said, there are not two different gates, the wide gate and the straight gate. It's the same gate. It's the direction of energy. It's the direction of consciousness. When our energy is going outward through the senses, through attachment, desire, getting further enmeshed in karma, it leads to destruction. It doesn't lead to freedom. And this inward flow, this straight gate is the spine. It's a reference to the astral spine. And the narrow way within the spine that leadeth to life is the path of liberation. And this is both a reference to the way we live outwardly, the way we live inwardly. And living in our spine, this is something, again, Swamiji often said, live in your spine all the time, not just in Kriya, outside of Kriya. When this other part of this, that few there be that find it, is interesting because in the Bhagavad Gita, we know that passage, Devi mentioned it, Jyotish mentioned it, that 1 out of 1,000 seek me, that seek to know me as I am. 1 out of 1,000 seek to know me as I am. And of those, 1 finds me. And this is not meant to discourage us. It's meant to point to the great blessing that we have to be the one of the 1,000 that seeks to know God, that wants to know God. Master said it takes very, very, very good karma to even want to know God. And this is that 1 in 1,000. But how can we be the one of the one? And we have this, the one of the 1,000. We have this practice of Kriya Yoga, and it is a path of liberation. And Swamiji said we can find liberation in this lifetime. It is possible having Kriya Yoga. When I had the great blessing of serving with Nayaswami and Ananda for the last 2 years of her life, and she helped me in preparing people for Kriya Yoga. We taught online, we still teach online, we taught online, and she served with me in that process of helping prepare people for Kriya Yoga. And we have groups of people that go through those courses, but they're really individuals. And there's always lots of challenges all along the way. We're all experiencing different challenges at different times, but especially in that beginning. And unique to that time in our life when we're just getting on the path and we're just, adapting to this new way. And she was always, one of the things that she did often was use analogies. Swamiji gave us many analogies, wonderful analogies, that help us take theory into practical living, to take an idea and make it real and something that we can relate to. And she would use those that Swamiji gave, but also she was always coming up with new ones. And we sometimes, a couple times, came up with a new one together. It was something that was a theme through this time, is these working with ways to help people understand and make real the teachings. And after she passed, after her astral ascension, we had a memorial, and that was sometime later where we were all able to share, those that wanted to, shared about, whatever we wanted to about her. And that morning, I wasn't sure, before the memorial, I wasn't sure if I would share. And so I was meditating on this and meditating on her, and suddenly this thought came, and it felt very clearly from Ananda, gold miner. And it was just so tangible that this gold miner, and I thought, nobody would think of Ananda as a gold miner. The 1849 gold miner is not Ananda, but here we are, we're in this gold country. It's very interesting. And she was a spiritual gold miner, and that's what I realized after, a moment of what, because that thought never, it was outside of myself. It didn't come from anything that I had experienced and, with Ananda or anything before, except for the fact that she was a spiritual gold miner. She would find the gold vein in difficult situations and people and help them find that within themselves. And I did share that at the memorial, but I realized that there's more that could be drawn from that idea of a gold miner. And, there is two ways of defining a gold miner. One is the surveyor looking at the landscape, the geography, the rocks, the waterways, and seeing where gold is most likely to be found. And then there's the gold miner who digs and extracts for our use. And Ananda had both. She had both abilities to look and find where the gold was, but also to dig and extract for use. And I was thinking about this, that these gifts, they're not gifts, they're choices. You know, they're things, it's not like God gives each one of us a certain gift, and we all get some gifts and others get other gifts. We develop those gifts. They're choices that we make every day, the way that we think, the way that we choose to think. And she had these, you could say, gifts. And, you know, in Autobiography of a Yogi, just to go back to this gold, the gold analogy, in Autobiography of a Yogi, Master said that gold or pure metals, they emanate astral vibrations. And here we are, we're living in gold country. There's gold under these rocks and hills. And Swamiji said once that there is something to that. Here Ananda was built on gold. There's gold here. Gold symbolizes the highest. Spiritually, it symbolizes the highest for mankind in every single endeavor, you know, in physical, mental, spiritual, the gold. Even in time, we were talking about Satya Yuga. Satya Yuga is the golden age, the age of perfection. And so this gold, looking for this gold within ourselves, is very important, and within each other. Master said, I was listening to a talk recently of Yogananda's, and he said, no matter how big that mountain of karma or difficulty, past lives is, if there's the gold underneath that mountain remains unchanged. It still is gold. It's no less gold because of that mountain. And this is our soul. And gold, just in another way, gold is one of the noble metals. It doesn't corrode like the soul. It's a beautiful, beautiful analogy. And just as Ananda gave us this example of looking for the gold in the difficulties, looking for the gold in ourselves and others, she also looked for the gold and found the gold, extracted the gold from the teachings. And this is another way that we can be a gold miner. An example is the peace and harmony prayer. She's the one that found that. She discovered that in Master's teachings by studying Master's teachings. She brought it to Jyotish and Devi, and it's become this worldwide practice for all of us that we use. Peace and harmony in the world, peace and harmony in our relationships, in our work, in whatever difficult situations we find ourselves in. We're all, as a universal, as a worldwide work of Ananda, we've made this very dynamic, this practice, and that is how the teachings change us, by the use of them. And, you know, one could say that there's a gold mine of teachings in Swamiji and Master, but we have to use them, we have to go deep with them. And by choosing to go deep with Yogananda's teachings, with what Swamiji gave us, we are transformed, but it's got to be beyond just looking and seeing the beauty of the gold. We have to make use of it. And there's a story in the biography of Yogananda that Swamiji wrote on Yogananda's life, which I highly recommend if you have not read that book. It's just a little moment with Sri Yukteswar and Yogananda, and Sri Yukteswar was asking Master about the way that he taught yoga in the West. He had kind of adapted to the West, and he was inquiring about this. And Master responded, he said, "Sir, you are a goldsmith, I'm a jeweler." You know, so we are jewelers. We take that gold. We need to be jewelers, to take that gold and make it our own. And this digging, digging into the teachings, extracting, we also dig into ourself, to make them our own, to how they relate to us, how they actually fit in what our goals are, our aims are. I'll just end with this one thing that Swamiji also gave us, and I've shared before at numerous times, and maybe a repeat for some of you. But Swami Kriyananda made a very interesting statement. He said, when we define a thing, we think we've understood it. And when we think we've understood it, we no longer explore it. We've understood it, it's done, and we move on. And what he was saying is that we need to go deep, we need to live these teachings and not keep them on the intellectual level, but to keep them growing as a living reality within ourselves. And in that way, the inner life, the outer life, the straight and the narrow, both inwardly and outwardly, they will transform us. So thank you.
Thank you, Devi. I'm a disciple of Christian. He gives me the teachings. The topic is a living Kriya, the light of Kriya in daily life. I'm going to adapt it. I'm a jeweler too. Living the life of Kriya, everyday life. First of all, I want to thank or congratulate the new disciples. To receive Kriya initiation is a great spiritual accomplishment. To have the good karma, to be attracted to this path is one part, and the second part is to act on it, as Deva Leela was saying, and live it. You have achieved it, you've been initiated into Kriya, you're halfway home. You're more than halfway home. I want to tell you a story about Swami Kriyananda. This was towards the end of his life. It was probably in the last 5 years of his life. So he had been practicing Kriya for 60 years. And one day, I know that he said this in public, but one day there was a little group of us sitting with Swamiji. And he was talking about Master and Babaji. Swami Kriyananda had absolutely the greatest respect for his guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, and for Babaji. But Swamiji just sort of mid-sentence sort of said, he looked at us and he said, they were Nara and Narayan. And he was just in awe. We don't have time for a whole Vedic mythology lesson this morning, but Narayan and Nara are the Amshas of Vishnu. They are the incarnations of the preserver of the universe. They came in traditional Hindu thinking as Krishna and Arjuna. They have come now as Babaji and Yogananda. But when Swamiji said it, there was a vibration of awe and reverence and devotion. And that's all he said. He just went on to the next thought. But it, as usual, blew me away. It just stunned me. Because it wasn't a realization or a new fact that he just discovered. It was the daily immersion in Kriya that a disciple can achieve, is to realize what we have and what these teachings are and what the Kriya, Pranayama, and initiation is. And I hope that all of us will be able to hold that for the next 60 years or until we leave. And of course, he didn't stop that when he left, but to realize the blessings that we have in this lineage. I have been extremely blessed in this life to have Master and Babaji and Swami Kriyananda. I got initiation, and I had the first 4 years of my discipleship without Swami Kriyananda. Not much progress was made. Some was made because I was sincere and I practiced regularly and faithfully as it is taught to me. But 19-year-old kid, I just didn't do that well. I tried. I just tried. And I had help from other saints. I lived in San Francisco. I met many great Buddhist masters, Zen masters, yoga masters. I met disciples of Swami Shivananda. And I picked up from them the vibration of living your discipleship in daily life. I even got to stay in an ashram. I got to go on retreat with Swami Satchitananda. And I started to get it, that if we can live our lives of Kriya, as Deva Lila was saying, then the masters can make it much easier. I have to, in any presentation, have complete openness. I've been living in Ananda communities for 50 years. So my bosses, Jaya, Prakash, Jyotish and Devi, Haridas. I have really nice bosses that are great disciples of Paramahansa Yogananda who live the light of Kriya every day. My co-workers are great disciples of Paramahansa Yogananda and friends of Swami Kriyananda. And I sometimes hesitate to share that because some of you don't live in an Ananda community. And I know how hard it is because I spent the first 4 years of my discipleship on my own. I had never seen anyone do energization. I did not know anyone who knew any of Yogananda's chants, except once in a while at a satsang, interfaith satsang, someone would do I Am the Bubble. And I was like, wow, that's really good. In one ashram I lived in, there was a picture of Master at the lake shrine blessing with the orange robe on. So I would spend the first hour sitting with my brothers and sisters meditating forward, and the second hour I would turn sideways to the picture. So the head of that ashram came up and said, "You're a disciple of Yogananda, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You should go to Ananda." And I said, "What's Ananda?" And he said, "That's Kriyananda and his people." And the light went on. Yes, that's where I got to be. Living the life of discipleship every day means rewriting the script that we're playing out of our karma. We have to change how we perceive the world. We have to live, as Swami Kriyananda recommended, as Kriya yogis first. We are Kriya yogis. We are in this setting. We work in this corporation. We're a lawyer. We're a banker. We're a construction worker. We're a school teacher, whatever we are. But we are Kriyabans. We are disciples of a great master, Nara and Narayana, one of the greatest masters. Of course, in the end, all masters are equal. There is no difference between any master and any master, to quote Rajasi Janakananda on a tape. But we have to live our lives, as Deva Lila was saying, from the inside as disciples of Master. And everything we do is just service to the Guru, light for the world, from our Guru, from Kriya, sharing with the world. It's much easier if your boss wants to start the morning with a prayer instead of a rundown of the NBA or the NFL or the politics. Maria and I served in Sacramento for 23 years, and people would tell me about their work environment, and I would just fold. I was just, oh my God. Every day you have to go there and listen to this when you should be, brothers, sisters, how can we serve Master today? How can we? So Swami gave us a number of opportunities or businesses. We had a restaurant called Earth Song. We had a women's clothing store called Mountain Song. We had a construction company. We had tree planting. We've done everything we can to serve in a positive and beneficial way as a Sangha, as a group of people who recognize in each other that we are here for God. But if we are not in an environment where that is our co-workers, we still have to realize and hold the light as much as is practical that this company is serving God, that this business, this government agency, whatever it is, we are all serving God. And if we can begin our day with Kriya and meditation and feel the love of God and the presence of the Guru, then take that into whatever our work is. And this is a little bit of a problem, because I just told you about the awe that we are direct disciples of Nara and Narayana. But we're also as close to the Divine Mother as her child. And there can be a mental problem there. It's awe, oh my God, Babaji Krishna are here, and the Guru's here. Swami Kriyananda was an adept at making us feel comfortable. First day I met him, I thought, there's no way he's gonna, I'm just this 19-year-old kid. He was very kind. He said, welcome. Oh, I'm glad you're here. 40 years later, when he left, he treated me the same. He's my friend, beloved God. This is the dilemma we have. We should have the awe. We should also have the intimate love of God because we have it. We need to remind ourselves that Master loves us. Remember what he said to Dr. Lewis? Remember, Doctor, God loves you as much as he loves me. We are his common children. Oh my God. Yogananda says that to Dr. Lewis? He must have fainted. But it was for his blessing. It's true of each one of us. Another thing's true is every time you sit to do Kriya and you invite the masters, they are there. Every single time you call on the masters, anyone who utters the name of Babaji with reverence attracts an instant spiritual blessing. So call on Master. Every time you do Kriya, ask him, help me. And then when you have to leave meditation and go out to the day, take him with you. Ask him, what are we going to do today? Now, okay, I live in Ananda village, so what we're going to do is we're going to build an offering to Master as Ananda in some aspect. Master's market, build a home, go do the teachings, Ananda online, the school, whatever it is. But if you don't live at Ananda, you still go to work with Master. And the creative challenge is, how can I see God in this? I don't know how many different jobs I've had at Ananda. It's a lot. Built houses and run the farm and put in septic systems, fix septic systems that were broken. That's fun. Because It's for Master, and Master's doing it. God is the doer. We have to have that. When we go outside this temple and look up in the sky, God is the sky. Remember, I am the sky. When we look at the flowers, it's spring. If you are in Northern California or Southern California, there's beautiful blossoms happening on millions and millions of trees. Little grass shoots are coming up. It might rain tonight. Oh boy. God, God, God. All day, every day, we have a creative assignment here. We have to see and feel that divine consciousness. When Swami Kriyananda would start a business or help us, encourage us to start a business, he would explain the philosophy of the business to us. For example, Earth Song. Swami said, let's start a business called Earth Song. Let's have a restaurant, a health foods restaurant. When people are eating food, they're taking in vibration. If we provide a restaurant and have Master's vibration, people will take in Master's vibration. Got it. This is good. When he sent the music out, he would explain to us. He wanted us to live every minute in Kriya. And it's a challenge. It's difficult. Sometimes. The good news is it's difficult at first, and then it's effortlessly liberating. It becomes a habit. If you're not thinking of God and you're going to work, what's wrong with me? Why am I thinking about something else other than how am I going to serve today? How am I going to feel God's love? How am I going to be a good Kriya disciple of Paramahansa Yogananda? It's a challenge. The computer, the tractor engine, the legal dilemma, the title of this piece parcel, this investment for the guru, this legal case, this school, when to have the recess, why are the children so weirded out today? These are all dilemmas that we come across. And Devi Leela mentioned Ananda. Ananda was incredible at tuning in to visitors and guests and people online and trying to feel, where is the soul that's seeking light through Ananda? Where can they be reached? Where can they be made welcome? That's our job, is to make all our brothers and sisters in the entire world welcome at Ananda in the light of Kriya, and to see that Kriya light everywhere all the time. When Paramahansa Yogananda was leaving an all-day meditation once, he turned to the people and he said, "You have no idea how beautiful you are. Silver light and golden light." That's all he saw. That's all the masters see. That's all the Buddha saw. That's all Christ sees. And that's all we have to see. It comes with daily practice, chanting the names of God, serving God, listening for the beauty and the light in the midst of ugly situations, because there is light everywhere. There is light in Om. Om is all-pervading, and so we have to look for that light and train ourselves, and you will see it. I promise. Why? Because Krishna promises, because Master promises, because Kriyananda promises. From the very beginning of Ananda, he was encouraging us, live in God. All the details will take care of themselves. But if we don't look for God, if we don't think of God, if we don't love God all the time, we won't see it. He saw it. He saw it all the time. And more, we could see that he saw it, because we were growing too. You know, we were at the Kriya meditation, Kriya initiation last night, and I don't know how many Kriya initiations I've participated in, but it's like the first Kriya initiation, only your cup is bigger. You can take more of it. You can drink more of it. When we were with Swamiji in the body, we could feel it. But Kriyananda's dropped the body 12 years ago. My relationship and our relationship with Swami is not different. Swami wasn't with us all the time for 40 years. Swami was in Italy, in India, in Asia, in all these places. But Swamiji's consciousness was always with us and is always with us and is with us today. God bless you.
Okay. I'd like to invite you all to stand up for a moment and close your eyes. Standing tall, take a deep, full breath from your feet to the top of your head. And let that breath come naturally out. And then open your eyes and look at the spiritual eye above my head, up high on the altar there. And bring up your hands like that beautiful painting of Swamiji's. And inwardly draw on that light and let it fill your brain. Let it fill your being. Revitalizing every atom. And relax your hands down. Holding that light in the forehead. And come sitting down now. I'd like to just take a moment to thank you all as well, and for being the Kriyabans that you are. I think any one of you could be up here on this dais, truly, and share about your life experience and Kriya in daily life, and we would be equally inspired. And it's what inspires us, isn't it, day to day? Just looking at the lives of our Guru Bhais and watching how they live and allowing them to lift our consciousness up to the heights. And so thank you so much for being you and all that you give to support others with this light of Kriya Yoga. When I was in my mid-late teens, my older brother returned home. And just for a little while, he had been, from about the age of 12, training professionally to race on bicycles. And he traveled all around the world doing this and rode in the Olympics for the US team twice. And so he was coming home briefly, and we were just getting to know each other because he was much older than I. He was nearly gone by the time I was born. And we used to ride a lot together. And we would ride on the Pacific Coast Highway. We would head up past Malibu, Zuma. We'd do 30, 40, 50 miles on bikes. And he gave me one of his bikes that he raced professionally in. And bikes, even in that day, I mean, this bike, you could pick it up just with your forefinger on the crossbar. It was so light. It was made for speed. And we'd be out there riding. And one day he said to me, I want you to experience, he had this idea in his head that maybe I would like to race professionally too. Somehow I knew that wasn't my dharma. But I did like riding, and I enjoyed riding with him. And he said, I want to just show you the speed that we ride at. And so I'm going to put my hand behind your seat, and I'm going to let my ride, my strength, carry you. So we're going along, and I'm running, I'm riding and pedaling as quick as I can. And then at a certain point, he signals to me, and he puts his hand there, and we just went off. And I couldn't keep my feet going on the pedals. I just moved them to the side, and it was his strength. And we just shot, for a considerable distance until I was like, whoa! no more. But it was decades later. I mean, I never thought about that experience after a certain point, and our lives kind of diverged a little bit. And it was decades later, after being a Kriyaban for a long, long time, that this memory came into my consciousness. And I thought, thank you, Master. What a powerful image. Because we're given the technique, right technique. We've got Kriya. We've got this airplane route to God. We're pedaling as fast as we possibly can just to try to keep up. And then that divine grace is right there at our back. And it's just, we are sailing. And just such a powerful, powerful image. Near the end of Rajarsi Janakananda's life, a number of students, Master had left his body by that time. And a number of students would ask Rajarsi, because he was around, a little more visible then. He was president of Self-Realization Fellowship for a short time. And they said, how come you always see Master? You always have visions of Master. Why not me? And it's not, we know it's not all about visions. Some people have them, most of us don't. But we might ask, how come you have spiritual experience of any kind? How come you're able to meditate deeply? How come you're able to be with Swami, when he was in the body, whatever it is? And Rajarsi asked Master, and Master answered the students through Rajarsi, and he said, they must come up to me, not me down to them. But they must come through meditation and the light up to me, up to my consciousness. And again, it's that, this life we've been given, this opportunity we've been given. If we're doing the best we possibly can, we're moving towards that consciousness of the Guru. We're meeting the Guru's consciousness. And that's what we're after, because we know that is what changes us, that is what makes our lives beautiful. And Master said to not waste time thinking about our shortcomings. I can't meditate deeply. I can't meditate a long time. Am I making any progress at all? I mean, really, decade after decade after decade after decade. Is this going anywhere? And Master said, don't waste time there. Don't waste time there. We can't possibly see all that's going on, and there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and Master has his hand right there, and we are moving quickly to God. One of the most beautiful things that Jesus said, that's attributed to Jesus, is the kingdom of God is within you. Such a powerful, powerful statement. Within you. Doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter what you're doing, who you are, what position you have. When I first went to India, it was 1990 with Ananda on pilgrimage, and my first time, it was wonderful, of course. And I would share, Swamiji and I were in, Ananda and I were in Sacramento at the time, and I would share with Swamiji periodically, just update him about all that was going on. And I'd just come back and I said, it was so wonderful. It was so deep. It felt like home. And there was nothing attached to that. I didn't have any dreams about living in India. Ananda had no work in India at that time. And, I didn't want to stay there really any longer than I did. And I didn't know if I'd ever go back. But I just said it was wonderful and it felt like home. And Swami picked that up and he wrote back and he said, well, surely you've had many lives in India. And it's true that wherever we are in God. And he said, but the work that we've been given to do is in gratitude to the lives we have had in India. And this life is to bring these teachings from India to the West and to further our Guru's work. And I was so grateful for that. I mean, here we were in Sacramento, and sometimes you would kind of think, what are we doing? Who are these people? And God bless you all, Sacramento, if you're watching. Because there's so many angels there and who have changed our lives and deeply blessed our lives. But truly, I mean, all of us, don't we ask that question sometimes? What am I doing? I'm not alone in that, I hope. What am I doing? Where am I? And so here Swamiji gave it to us. This is what we're doing in this incarnation. It doesn't matter where we are. What matters is that we are giving ourselves through these teachings, this path, this Kriya technique, to try our little best to further our Guru's work. And Swamiji said, when we practice Kriya, and he didn't say this all the time. I came across this some months ago, but it's been sticking with me. It's not a deviation of Kriya as we know it. But he said, on the exhalation, it could help, perhaps, to just go a little more slowly on that exhalation from the spiritual eye to the medulla, to flood the brain and feel the energy there, the light there, and then continue down. It's still on the one breath, but just slowly move it through there. He said it might be helpful to us, and we can see why. That light is what we're after, the realization, the experience of that light, and to savor it, as Ananda said, with reverence, to take that in, to be present enough, fully present enough, to really be with that light. Some while back, I was getting ready to meditate, and I went over to my meditation seat. And I was so restless. I was so anxious about something, really quite worried about something. And my first thought, so sorry to say, was, I can't possibly meditate. This is ridiculous. I am never going to be able to get my mind to be quiet. But as quickly came the thought, you can't not do this. What else is there? I mean, honestly, am I just going to sit there and go into worry for the rest of the evening? The rest of the day? Is that going to be any fun? Am I just going to, create all of these hypothetical scenarios about what is happening and what could be happening and what if that happened? Forget it. That's a lousy movie. It's boring. It's further frustrating. It just goes absolutely nowhere. And I know that. So as quick came that thought, no, just sit here for a few minutes, do Hong Sa for a couple minutes, try a few Kriyas, and see what happens. And less than 5 minutes, those problems were as far away as being on another planet. I was conscious of it, but most especially conscious of the distance from it. And this sounds so simple. I mean, we've been told this so many times, the power of these practices. It might seem rather elementary, but I've been meditating for years. I've been meditating for a while. The fact is, it sometimes comes up that this other consciousness is trying to hijack our efforts. And we just have to deal with it and trust in the power of what we've been given to just put it into practice, however simple it is. A couple minutes of Hong Sa, a few Kriyas, and that's all it takes, and our consciousness can completely make that shift. Now, I know not everybody can do this. I know it's a struggle sometimes to make the sadhana happen for whatever reasons. The practices happen. Again, as I said earlier, Master said, don't waste time in dwelling on the trouble aspect of it. Just keep things moving forward, which means to just try to make that little effort. And so I was talking with a friend recently, a few weeks ago now, whose life, just as it happens, completely turned upside down within a day. And from going along and things working, all of a sudden they're in the ER, they're in the hospital, they're facing a very threatening, life-threatening circumstance. And this person is a Kriyaban, not anyone, that you probably even know, most of you. But anyway, just wondering, how can I implement this? I'm here all day, I'm here all night by myself. It's strange, it's odd, it's scary, and I'm very much alone, and I can't meditate, by the way. I can't get my mind over to meditate. And so what they did, they said they just started to mentally chant a little bit, and then opening their eyes and just seeing the empty room, visualized the masters in each corner of the room, and got that visualization real. I mean, it wasn't just a painting on the wall or a statue. They were there. And, Babaji, Krishna, Jesus, Yukteswar, Lahiri, Master, they were all there, surrounding. And they said that, a doctor would come in, a nurse would come in, some chaos would be happening with the body. They'd doze off, they'd wake up. But just every instance when there was waking consciousness, they would just check, okay, they're there, they're there, and they stayed there. And they were there the whole time for a number of days. And just imparting that remembrance, the kingdom of God is within me. I'm not alone. Master called it our portable paradise. It's where God lives inside each one of us. And that's our strength when the world is not giving us that reality. When Ananda and I were in Sacramento, I remember I was alone there one day in the offices. I don't know why that was, but somebody called, and it was the husband of a member of the congregation. He didn't participate. He wasn't really interested, but she would come and her children would come. And one day the phone rang, and I picked it up, and it was him. I think I had met him once, but he, introduced himself at the other end. And then he just started to yell at me. I mean, really yell at me. And this went on for quite a while. And then he was yelling at Ananda. And then he was yelling at, about our classes and our services, and I mean, just going on and on and on and on. And I was sitting there feeling quite helpless, not really knowing what to say. My desk faced a very large picture of Yogananda. And I looked at the phone, I listened, and I just... I remembered who is really in charge, and I just held up that phone. And I held it there for a long time. This was his opportunity to just get whatever he needed to get out, and I didn't want to take it away from him. I was hoping for a better ending. I wasn't sure one was going to come. And finally, it just got a little softer and a little softer and a little softer, and I brought it back to my hearing. And then it just went quiet. And I thought, okay, I could say something. It would probably be useless. And so I decided I just thanked him. I thanked him for sharing what he felt and indicated that I was going to now hang up the phone. And then I just hung up the phone. And nothing ever came of it. It was just all gone. I don't know, whatever needed to happen. I don't know what happened for him in his life. But Master took care of it. The Guru took care of it. And that's what our training really is. And that's what our Kriya gives us. It gives us an anchor in that reference point of the divine. That's all that's really happening is God through us. And we just need to keep our channel open, reach for that divine light, and live that divine light. I wanted to just close with some words I've had in my head lately, the song that Swamiji wrote. He wrote it to music already existing. It's called Through a Long and Lonely Night. And what has been in my consciousness are the words, through the pains and joys of life, my bliss is the same. And what is very powerful, more than those words, is that's the life that Swami Kriyananda lived. Whatever was going on, whether someone was yelling at him, whether someone was persecuting him, whether someone was bringing him flowers, whether some program didn't work, there was a short, no one attended, or whatever it was, my bliss is the same. That was the life that he lived, the consciousness that he lived and expressed. It's probably the reason why most of us feel such an inner reverence and appreciation for that friendship through him, because of the example of his life. But I wanted to read the whole of the words. Again, it's words that he wrote on a song from the past that already existed. But the words are so powerful, and I think are true to each one of us. It's where we're going, it's where we're headed, and it's who we are. Through a long and lonely night, I've whispered your name. Through the pains and joys of life, my bliss is the same. Tempt me no longer, this world's not for me. I have known all its joys. Fold me now in your arms. Make me free. Don't be misled by this song. It's not an end-of-life song. It's not an affirmation that the world is meaningless, although we might question it. But it's a truth about a state of consciousness, where we're headed, and what Kriya is gifting to us. That's what it's about, so that our bliss is ever present, ever felt, ever experienced, and there as a gift to all whom we meet. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Ananda. Thank you, Devi Lila. And thank all of you for being here. And I very much hope those of you who have come from other places have enjoyed your weekend here. Years ago, Swami Kriyananda and here at the Expanding Light, we started this tradition of having retreats. And we've always had retreats here. But he suggested to us that we have retreats that are specifically aimed at Kriya Yoga. And we would have retreat weekends where we would do initiations, but he says, let's take an extra amount of time, extra days, and just focus on Kriya and talk about Kriya. And he made an interesting statement that has always struck with me. He says, because Kriya Yoga is our religion. And I thought that was an interesting statement, because what is a religion really? It's what's really very important to us. It's the foundation, you might say, of what we do in life. And I think coming together in this spirit is what I feel this weekend. Then, of course, we have a little bit more and tomorrow. But it's special to take time to focus on Kriya, because it's that central part of our life. It's Kriya, yes, but it's also embodies, when we talk about Kriya, it embodies masters, our guru-disciple relationship, and this long tradition that has been passed down through the ages, and we have the blessings to be able to receive. Today, I would like to speak about the subject of change. Now, change is one of those things that I think every one of us wants on some level. Although there are parts of us that don't want change. You could say, if you were to ask people, do you like change? And I think probably when I was a teenager and when I was of that age in my life, I'd say, yes, I'm all for change, because that goes more with that. But as we get older, I think people may say they want change, but they probably really don't on a deep level. And there are parts of us, I think, that do want it and don't want it. The soul, you could say, wants to reclaim its heritage. That soul nature, we want to realize ourselves on the soul level. But there's a certain danger to that. And I think there's part of us that doesn't want to change, because I'm going to have to give up. And I think the ego part of ourselves doesn't want change, because the potential is that we're going to transcend this world and really become knowing of our true soul nature, and the ego gets left out in the cold. So the ego doesn't really, I think, want change. But in each of us, there's these two forces playing. And I remember there was a saying by Mark Twain. He says, yes, I'm all for progress. It's change that I don't like. And I think this is actually what we face, because we can't make that progress that I think on our soul level that we're seeking without making change. So I'd like to share a few thoughts about change. Now, there are two types of change that when we speak about it, we have that spiritual progress, the changes I have to make within myself to be able to attain what I'm looking for on a deep level. And then there's also the other side of it, the change that happens outside of ourselves. Circumstances change. I think we like the first idea better than the second. The second one, because it's how do we respond to that changes that take place outside of our lives? But let's start with the first one. I met Swami Kriyananda many, many years ago, and when I met him, the first question I asked him, because I had read the autobiography of a yogi, I want to learn Kriya Yoga. Because when I read that book, and subsequently after meeting Swamiji, I very, very much wanted to change. I was at a point in my life as a college student, recently graduated college student, and I had picked up certain habits and ways of being that I enjoyed on one level, because I wouldn't have taken them up otherwise, but on another level, I just didn't like it. I didn't like that part of myself, and I'd like to share with you a certain quality that ultimately I was able to, I hope, put on the back burner. And I'd like to say I've totally transcended it, but I don't think we really do that so much. And I have asked myself many times, and perhaps you have too, have I really changed? I've done this for so many decades. Have I really changed? And if I look within myself, I realize, I'm still that same old me, not that much different. I feel that sense of self when I was back in college, when I was a kid. It's that same me, but yet something has changed. I refined myself to some degree. So yes, it is, but what is it? That essential side of ourselves really doesn't change. That's our soul nature. It keeps going lifetime after lifetime, that essence. And each one of us are very, very unique. But what does change is the clothing it wears. And by that I mean the qualities that it takes on lifetime after lifetime. And those qualities change. They become more refined, we hope. And slowly, slowly, it's the play of those qualities when we think about who I am. That's not really who we are. But there are things and traits and qualities that we've taken on. And when I was at that age, when I met Swamiji, I looked at myself and I could see there's something I wanted to change. And one of those qualities was being a college student and doing my best in college. I had a certain mental facility. I could see things, and I could analyze things, and I was intelligent enough to be able to function well. But I had this one quality, and I often say it this way. Later on, I had a job in construction for a while, I says, I can look at a picture on the wall or a board, and I can see if it's level or not without using a level. I can tell. I can look at a picture on a wall, and if it's just a little bit off, I can see it right away. Now, that's a critical mind, is what it is. I had the facility to be very analytical, and I could see faults in other people very easily. And if you do that, now, what made it painful is that I could look in the mirror and I could see those faults in myself. And it was difficult. I was miserable. So fortunately, I could see it both ways, because if you just see other people, which some people seem to have that ability, but they don't have the ability to self-reflect. But I was a devotee to that degree. So I came onto the path, and I was so happy. I had met this great man, but yet I'd look at Swamiji and I says, what a great soul. But if only he would do X, Y, and Z. Why does he do that? And it was like that for everything. I was very critical. And I had the ability to see. And so if a person had 98% goodness and 2% of little something, I could see it. And I do it to myself too, of course. And this is a miserable way to live, I assure you. But I learned Kriya, and I was assured that I could change. You could change, and you can change. But here's how it happens. And in this case, a certain series of events allowed me to apply myself to try to change that. And this is back in around 1980s, somewhere about like that. I was in a very bad mood, and I was in my criticizing. And I went into an office, and a friend of mine working there, and I unloaded my bad mood on this other person. And I was very critical. And I was saying it with a certain amount of power. And I could see I hurt this person. And she says, Jaya, you shouldn't be like that. You have the power to hurt people. And I thought, oh my God. And it struck me. I apologized, but it stuck with me. I have the power to hurt people. And that's the farthest thing in my mind that I ever wanted to do. But I said, oh my God, I'm going around hurting people like this. And I'm hurting myself, of course. And I took it to heart. Outwardly, I was pretty much the same, but I went and I meditated on that. And I said, I must change this. I cannot be this way. And so I began to think, how do I do it? And long story short, I took it into my meditation. I took it into Kriya. I took it into opening my heart to Guru, asking Guru, help me, God. I don't know what to do. I took it into my daily actions. I says, I have to knowing the teachings, I can't just ask for the Guru to help me. I've got to do something. So I consciously begin to smile. Now, somebody here the other day says, "Oh, hi," this was just yesterday, said, "Hi, oh, hi, Jaya, how are you doing? You're always smiling." That's not true, really. And little did they know, I said, I've got to change my attitude. I got to put out positive attitudes, and it's got to be a conscious act. So I began to try to do that. And slowly what would happen is I began to rein that in. I would fall, I'd do it again, fall, do it again. And slowly, I got to the point where it transformed itself from a habit into something else. And this is a point I'd like to make. Oftentimes we say, I want to change and become something different. But usually when we have these qualities that we want to change, they don't go away. They moderate and they go into another state. So that habit became a tendency. And I think this is what happens. We have a habit and we do our very best to cure it. In my case, I think I felt that it was Kriya that was able to change that, offering it up into the light every day. It was Kriya that did that, but it became a tendency. It didn't go away, not then. And this is what happens. Tendencies we can deal with. I can control a tendency. Very difficult to control a habit. And I was thinking about that last night, and habits can be transformed through your Kriya practice into tendencies, which you can control. A habit will drive you. You have control if it's a tendency. I'm not going to do it. Desires can be transformed into preferences. They're not a desire, but they're preferences. You see, the rough edges are being taken away. Regrets can be transformed into lessons learned. Anger can be transformed into annoyance. I'm annoyed. Problems can be transformed into puzzles that need to be solved. You see, all of these, we get them to a point, and then we apply ourselves to the one critical element. We pay attention to not stimulate our tendencies by putting ourselves in the right environment. And and not feed them. Don't feed a tendency. And slowly that tendency becomes latent. And eventually, where'd it go? It goes away. It may take the lifetime to do that, but remember the story that Swamiji would say about how Master told about the life of Judas Iscariot, the great, sinner that we think of him to be. He said he ultimately received liberation. He was liberated finally, in not too long ago, actually. And in his guru, he said, but Judas still had a tendency toward money. And Master said he actually knew this man. He said he had a tendency, but the guru reminded the other disciples used to tease him about it. And the guru told the other disciples, not saying that he had been Judas, he said, don't tease him. He's sensitive there. And I think that's it. You carry a tendency. But the encouraging part of that story to me was, it said that Judas attained freedom in that lifetime. He still had the tendency, you see. So but you make it to such a smile, it's just a little wave. And this is how we eventually are able to transcend all that karma. We talk about, Master says, do Kriya, and the karma will be taken away. Slowly, this is how it's done. We bring it up into the light, and we're just left with a little latent tendency, and then we refused to feed it. And slowly, and try to do something positive on the other hand to keep yourself. So whether it's anger or whether it's greed or whether it's overly being critical of all sorts of things like that, you can't change. Now, the second point I wanted to make about change, very quickly here, is outer circumstances. And I wanted to tell this story about, which I've told to others as well before, but for many years, many of you know, I lived in India, and Swamiji was in India as well. And Swamiji in his latter years was very, very ill. And it was I think it was in 2011, Diana and I were staying at that time, running the center up in northern India, Delhi area. And we went to Pune, where Swamiji was in the hospital, and just came out of the hospital, we went to do a program in Pune. And after we finished the program, we went to Swamiji and asking for his blessings. And he, of course, and he began to reminisce. We were in a little lounge, a private lounge at this hotel, and Swami began to talk about his life, and particularly his life with Master. And as you know, he was put out of SRF when he was in 1960s, early 60s, and he felt as if Master had abandoned him. He was so hurt by this action that they began to recount that whole story again to us, and he said, I was so distressed. I thought perhaps Master had abandoned me, that I had displeased him in some way. He says, and then at this point in the story, he starts to weep. He said, I fall on my knees and mentally, and I tell Master, Master, you may have rejected me, but I will never, ever reject you. And he made this motion as if he was grabbing his feet. And that attitude of he had to face something, his outer world had completely disintegrated. But he said he went back to the core values that he had, which was his discipleship with Master. And the world may change, and all of us face challenges, but how do we face those challenges? And Swamiji, as the years passed, he always had this saying, and he said, whatever comes of itself, let it come. Let it come. But there's more to it than that. I think as devotees, yes, whatever comes of itself, let it come. And then wrap your hands around your Guru's feet mentally. Because if you have the Guru's blessings with you, not letting them go, anything that happens to you outwardly, you can handle. You can handle it. But it's really the Guru. By doing that, you are surrounding yourself with that aura of the blessings. And anything can happen. Anything, you can take it. Because you are a disciple of a great master. And that's the attitude we go in. And what storms come, storms go. But in the process, how do we get to that point? It's through the practice of Kriya Yoga. Now, some years, I would like to share this little inspiration that came to me. It's a very obvious one, but it only occurred to me a few years ago. I was invited by Shama and Jan, who I don't think are here today, but we to go to Spain, to pilgrimage in Spain. I was coming back from India, so why don't you stop in Spain and we'll go on this pilgrimage and then you can continue on your way, which I did. And we went to Sevilla, where the tomb is there of San Fernando, who there's a tradition that San Fernando had been Paramahansa Yogananda in a previous lifetime. And there in his tomb is also the crypt of Alfonso, his son, who perhaps could have been Swami Kriyananda. So I said, yeah, let's go. And so we did. We went there, and I was really inspired. If you have that opportunity, I would say go. It's a wonderful city, wonderful place. But they have a little chapel. There's a chapel there in this big cathedral. Within the cathedral is a chapel. And I had a chance to have 3 meditations there, 2 hours each. And during each of those meditations, the priest would come in and do a mass. And he would each one, and I just really enjoyed it. I always enjoyed it because there's a devotion that I enjoyed. And he would do the mass, and I would do my meditation. I'd stand up and sit down and stand with everybody, but I, be respectful. But I was meditating, and now some of you probably were Catholic, were raised in the Catholic. Is there anybody raised in the Catholic tradition? Okay, a good Catholic goes to Mass not once a year, not twice a year, not once a month, not only on Sunday. A good Catholic goes to Mass every day. And I thought about this. I thought, this is so beautiful. What do we do? What do you do when you go to Mass? You commune with the Christ. What do we do when we practice Kriya? We're communing with the Christ consciousness. And it occurred to me, that's our communion. Every day we go to communion. So you could say, if you're asked, do you go to communion? Yes, I go to communion every day. Matter of fact, I go twice a day. And in this way, but if we bring that attitude, and I began to bring that attitude, I am communing with Christ, the Christ consciousness, my guru, Christ consciousness. And in that way, we are offering ourselves up. And the final point I wanted to share with you is going back to that story of being with Swamiji there when he was very, very ill, is that as we were leaving, he told this story plus 5 or 6 other stories that I shared with you. He said, and remember, he blessed us, and he says, remember, it's not, and since we had come down to just recently give a retreat, he said, remember, it's not enough to share and give the teachings. And this applies to all of us. To be a good disciple, all of us are sharing because that's part of what we do. We share. It's not enough to share the teachings. You must give people bliss. And of course, yes. Of course, how do I have bliss to share? And I would, you may humbly say, but I don't have bliss to share. But we do. Every one of us has bliss. Deep down within ourselves, we have the presence of the Guru with us. We have the ability to uplift another person just a little bit. We have the ability to smile, to share joy, to be joyful in ourselves. We have these things. So we should not. We're in a sense, we're being disloyal to our Guru if we do, to not share that bliss or whatever iteration it takes. Because yes, we have the tendency, we have a tendency, as you might think of all these negative tendencies, but we also have a tendency to the highest as well. And that's the problem with criticism. We look inside ourselves and we may be 98% full, but we just see that little part that's empty. And that's really not seeing life in true perspective. And we need to do that. Remember, and it is 98% full because we have the Guru with us. And that little bit, whatever, it's just a little bit of dust on the mirror that needs to be perhaps with a puff or a little bit of cloth. Away it goes. And we don't, is coming back to change. We don't really change on one level, but certainly we can be changed, you see, if we allow it. If we bring the Guru's presence into us and allow God to change us, allow that change to happen. And it's that old joke that they used to say, how many people does it take to change a light bulb? Only one, but the light bulb has to want to change. And so it is. It's in our own self. We have that desire to change, and then we invite that change to happen to us, and then we watch and don't feed any tendency. Turn those things, habits, into tendencies, and don't feed them. And so, and positively do the opposite. And you'll find a decade goes by, 2 decades goes by, and you're just not the same person anymore. On one soul level you are, but outwardly everything has gone from, you could say, cloudy, unknowing, obscure understanding to clarity, light, and a little bit of bliss too. God bless all of you, and thank you so much for coming this weekend.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Jyotish. I just we'll have a little break before meditation, but I wanted to catch everyone while you're here. We'll have Kriya checking if you've signed up for that from 1:30 to 3:30. Just meet in the foyer here in the Temple of Light, and we will tell you where to go. Those not taking higher Kriya this evening, there's an opportunity to have a meditation satsang with Nayaswami Sagar. You'll meet at the Expanding Light to ride over to the Crystal Hermitage, and I believe it's at 3:45. Is Sagar here? Is that right? 3:45 at the Expanding Light front desk. Okay, bless you. Thank you.
Have a meditation in here, 5 minutes, we'll spend.
And so let's keep silence in the sanctuary, please, for those who want to meditate right now. Thank you.
Let's invite the masters to be with us in this meditation, and then we'll chant together. Heavenly Father,
Heavenly Father,
Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
friend, beloved God,
friend, beloved God,
Jesus Christ,
Jesus Christ,
Babaji Krishna,
Babaji Krishna,
Lahiri Mahashai,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Swami Sri Yukteswarji,
Swami Sri Yukteswarji,
beloved Guru,
beloved Guru,
Paramahansa Yoganandaji,
Paramahansa Yoganandaji,
saints of all religions,
saints of all religions,
we bow to you all.
we bow to you all.
We invite your presence
We invite your presence
in this meditation.
in this meditation.
Help us to feel your love.
Help us to feel your love.
Please dissolve our separateness,
Please dissolve our separateness,
that we may realize
that we may realize
that we are a part of thee.
that we are a part of thee.
Please be with us now.
Please be with us now.
Om.
Om
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Amen. Let's awaken to thy light in love and joy. We'll sing each twice. I awake in thy light, I awake in thy light. I am joyful, I am free. I awake in thy light. I awake in thy light, I awake in thy light. I am joyful, I am free. I awake in thy light. I awake in thy love, I awake in thy love. I am joyful, I am free. I awake in thy love. I awake in thy love, I awake in thy love. I am joyful, I am free. I awake in thy love. I awake in thy joy, I awake in thy joy. I am joyful, I am free. I awake in thy joy. I awake in thy joy. I awake in thy joy. I am joyful, I am free. I awake in thy joy. I awake in thy light. I awake in thy light. I am joyful, I am free. I awake in thy light. I awake in thy light. I awake in thy light. I am joyful, I am free. I awake in thy light. I awake in thy love. I awake in thy love. I am joyful, I am free. I awake in thy love. I awake in thy love. I awake in thy love. I am joyful, I am free. I awake in thy love. I awake in thy joy. I awake in thy joy. I am joyful, I am free. I awake in thy joy. I awake in thy joy. I awake in thy joy. I am joyful, I am free. I awake in thy joy. I awake in thy light. I awake in thy light. I am joyful, I am free. I awake in thy light. I awake in thy light. I awake in thy light. I am joyful, I am free. I awake in thy light.
Let's share now these blessings as a healing. Visualize your being as a being of light. And project this light from your forehead, from the spiritual eye, outward to encircle the planet in an aura of light, of healing, of harmony, of divine grace, across the oceans, all lands, all nations, all governments. This light as an offering to each individual soul. Lighting their heart, this light imparting hope and the realization of the God within. Let's rub our hands together, channeling the vibration of Om out to all the world. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Amen.